Greetings, citizens. My name is FailureToReport, and this is going to be a quickie. Like, she's going to look at me after and be like, okay, what about me? That kind of quick. So, let's talk about the new Star Citizen 3.6 flight feature, Hover Mode.
Look, Daddy, I can fly in Star Citizen now.
No, you can't. Shut up, kid. You're just a know-nothing kid. You still can't fly in Star Citizen. The ship's gyro can fly in Star Citizen. You big dummy. Alright, look, I like the idea of hover mode. It's clearly needed on ships like the Retaliator that literally fall out of the sky if you don't go into the previously named landing mode so that its big boy thrusters would rotate vertically. I'm also a huge fan of having a separate flight model for atmospheric flight versus space flight. I think a lot of viewers get my criticism of the new flight model in the previous videos confused, thinking that I'm talking about Atmo flight. I'm not. I have not put out my opinion on that mode in any video yet. If I've talked about flight in the past, it is 100% related to the space flight model, period. So, with that said, there are three things in flying games that I love doing: taking off, flying nap of the earth, and landing. If all three of those things are fun and feel good, I can play a game just based around those three things. Like, I've been trying to push down a major 12 o'clocker in my shorts ever since the new Microsoft Flight Sim reveal at E3, because those games nail those three things every time. So when CIG wants to tinker with landing, I'm ready to be excited. The problem is, what we have in the 3.6 PTU right now makes me go innie instead of outie. And it's all thanks to how hover mode works currently. So these are my two major issues with this system. First, it engages way too early. As you can see in this clip, hover mode is auto-engaging at one throttle tick under the red line for SCM speed setting. One tick. So my options are leaving the speed limiter above the SCM line and prompting my thrusters to be working harder to fly, and thus overheating more, or setting it in a safety zone where I have a chance of fighting my ship for control because I stop accelerating for a moment and trigger the hover mode. CIG, this setting should engage if you really want to stick to auto-forcing it to engage and not doing the common sense thing by letting players turn it on and off as needed, way lower in the speed settings. Like bottom quarter of the SCM speed zone. There should be no way in hell that this thing is turning on at over 75% of SCM speed. My next issue with how this new system works is that there's no altitude limit on when the ship will suddenly snap control and put you in quadcopter gyro mode, which means leveling you out and trying to stop you in place. When John Crew started comparing the new hover mode mechanic with helicopter flight, I was honestly pretty excited. I'm a huge helicopter sim fan, and the idea of having those kind of mechanics in our spaceships was pretty interesting. The problem is, helicopters struggle to hover in place the higher you go. In an attempt to drastically oversimplify how this works for the sake of being brief, the closer you are to the ground, the thicker the atmosphere is, and the easier it is to produce lift. Additionally, when a helicopter or airframe with VTOL is near to the ground, you gain something called in-ground effect, which essentially means the air pushed down to the ground by your lift device creates a sort of cushion, enabling the aircraft to hover with greater ease. Look, there's a lot to this. Read a book. The point is, if I'm in Hurston's atmosphere, or stratosphere more like it, there's absolutely zero reason my ship should be deciding to switch over to the good old hover mode. It makes no sense and it's incredibly frustrating. Lastly, and this is nitpicky, but the hover mode just handles arcadey as hell. I was trying to describe it to somebody earlier today and they mentioned Arma, and I was like, holy crap, that's literally how it feels. If you've ever played Arma and flown a helicopter in that game, you're probably familiar with how they handle when you turn on auto hover. That's hover mode in Star Citizen. Because the system seems to want to center your ship and perform perfect level like quadcopter flight, it feels like you're constantly fighting the ship to control what you want it to do. So as we come into land at the end of the runway, you'll notice that the aircraft continues forward speed. It's not magically losing its momentum. If I want to slow down, I need to pitch up and reduce throttle to bleed lift and airspeed. I really love helicopter flight over airplanes because there's so much going on in every movement versus the kind of brute force of fixed wing aircraft forcing thrust to create lift over a winged surface. Now, As we approach, I have to make adjustments. If the aircraft starts sliding to the right, I need to counter adjust stick to the left. If I'm coming in too fast still, I need to pitch up again and slow down more. It doesn't magically level me out and put me in a perfect balanced approach. And while this landing is going to be sloppy, it's because I haven't been on Arma in almost 3 years and I'm doing this entirely on a keyboard. But my point is, the game lets me fly the aircraft and I'm responsible for how it handles and the performance of my landing. So then, this is how it handles with auto hover. This is what Star Citizen feels like with the current iteration of hover mode. It takes control away from the pilot by dumbing it down to auto centering. This kind of mechanic feels really out of place and just absurd when you're flying a giant spaceship and it suddenly snaps your pitch and roll to center because it knows what's best. Cloud Imperium, I really like the idea, honestly I do, but this system needs some serious refining, and honestly, a manual toggle for it would be a huge quality of life setting. It's my ship, it's my insurance claim. If I think I can cowboy the landing of my fully loaded Starfarer by running full blast into the outpost landing pad and pitching it up and stopping at the last second, please let me. I'm a grown-up, I'm a big boy, it's okay. I'm willing to learn from my mistakes if I can't do it. Now, to be clear and fair, this is, I believe, day 2 of the 3.6 PTU build. So hopefully feedback gets pushed to CIG and this mechanic can be fine-tuned some more before going live, because this current iteration really takes away from the joy of flying. The amount of kind of hand-holding and dumbing down the systems in this game really concerns me. And it also kind of gives out a little bit of the head of this project plays Star Citizen on a controller vibe, because I can't think of any other reason why they keep dumbing this down to like early Battlefield levels of flying. But anyways, with all that said, my name is FailureToReport. I will be working on getting a proper full 3.6 preview done here in the next few days. I just felt like this topic kind of deserves some attention and I wanted to get my thoughts out there as early as possible in hopes of provoking other people to think about it and then offer their feedback to CIG as well. So until next time, you stay safe, citizens, and I will see you out there in the verse.